Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily news updates with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: Senegal's opposition leader Usman Sunko calls for larger and peaceful anti-government protests after his release on bail for alleged rape. President Macky Sall appeals for calm in Senegal after days of deadly protests over the arrest of opposition leader Usman Sunko. The opposition in Ivory Coast and the ruling party both claim victory in the legislative elections before the publication of the official results of the vote. Our top story today: Senegal's opposition leader Usman Sunko on Monday urged his supporters to come out massively and peacefully after days of deadly protests triggered by his arrest. The opposition figure was freed from detention on Monday but also charged with rape, a charge he claims is politically motivated.
For the past few days, my sleep has been very disturbed. Not because of the case in question, because it leaves me speechless, but because there has been too much damage, too many victims, too many murders, too many people killed, too many wounded, too many people taken prisoner, too many grieving families. Never in Senegal's history has the speech been so tough, so vindictive, so hateful. Never in Senegal's history have issues as sensitive as religion, ethnicity, regional affiliation been raised. It was under Macky Sall that this happened. Never in the history of Senegal have we had programs specifically and specially set up to bash some opponent, slander on that opponent, and talk about anything all the time. We all have to do our introspection because this has burned countries, and we all know that we are not very far from it. Macky Sall, having betrayed the Senegalese people, having betrayed his oath, Macky Sall is no longer legitimate to lead Senegal. The revolution has already started. Nothing and no one can stop it. No internal or external power can stop it anymore. The people have taken their responsibility and have understood what is at stake. Let's lead this revolution to its end, that is to say, at the latest 2024. We ask the Senegalese people, and especially the youth, not to lower the mobilization, not to break this exceptional mobilization. The victims, the lives lost, must have been used for something so that it never happens again in Senegal. This mobilization must be maintained. It must be much greater, but above all, it must be peaceful.
Sonko's supporters actively campaigned over the past few days for his release.
What is happening today in Senegal is not normal. It's a dictatorship, and we fought to be free, so that the sons and daughters of Senegal could live in a free country. So what is happening today is not normal. And Mr. Usman Sunko, we are here. We are going to free him no matter what and whatever it takes.
In the last few days, we have been too tired with this story about Sonko Adjisor, the beauty therapist who accused Usman Sunko of rape. And now it's all over. That's good, thank God. We are happy and free now. Sonko is free and we are free. All the Senegalese people are free. Usman Sunko finished third in the 2019 elections that saw President Macky Sall win a second term in office and is considered a future presidential contender. The 46-year-old has vowed to continue to raise his voice against President Macky Sall's administration, urging his supporters to follow suit. Senegal's President Macky Sall Monday appealed for calm after days of deadly clashes between protesters and security forces in the country, triggered by the arrest of opposition leader Usman Sunko.
I call for calm and peace. Altogether, let's silence our bitterness and avoid the logic of confrontation which leads to the worst. On the judicial aspect of this crisis, let justice take its course in complete independence. I also understand My dear fellow citizens, that the anger that has been expressed in recent days is also linked to the impact of an economic crisis aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic.
President Macky Sall's urging came after Senegal's opposition leader Usman Sunko called on Monday for much larger but non-violent protests against his administration. In Ivory Coast, the opposition on Monday denounced a document circulating on social media, reportedly issued by the Ministry of Interior, showing them losing in the legislative elections that took place on Saturday.
It is inadmissible and unacceptable that a unit of the Ministry of the Interior is publishing results. It is on social networks. This is extremely serious because so far only IEC is empowered to proclaim election results in Ivory Coast. We are winners and we don't want to be robbed of victory. We will use all legal and democratic means not to be robbed of this victory. What must come out is the results must reflect the emanation, the will of the people of Yopougon. This is very important.
Although the ruling party and the opposition both claimed victory in the parliamentary elections on Sunday, the official results of the vote are still to be announced by the Electoral Commission. Meanwhile, in Ivory Coast, Ahmed Bakayoko has officially been replaced as Prime Minister and Defense Minister of the country. The Secretary General to the presidency, Patrick Ashi, was appointed on Monday interim Prime Minister, while Bakayoko is in Europe receiving medical care, according to the presidency. President Alassane Ouattara's younger brother, Tenebiraima Ouattara, was meanwhile appointed interim defense minister. 56-year-old Bakayoko, who was flown to France on the 18th of February for medical reasons, has reportedly recently been transferred to a hospital in Germany. The nature of his health issues has not been made public by the presidency. On the security front, Britain is supporting France's Barkhane military operation in the Sahel region. During his visit to a base in central Mali, British Armed Forces Minister James Hippie said on Monday that Britain is displaying Anglo-French solidarity by providing crucial heavy-lift helicopters for France's 8-year-old anti-terrorism mission in the Sahel. The minister added that British authorities regard the French as their closest military allies in Europe. Britain has also deployed 100 military staff in Mali's flashpoint central region of Gao to support France's military operation. On the international scene in the United States, the trial of the police officer accused of killing George Floyd, the African-American man whose murder sparked worldwide mass protests against racial injustice, started on Monday. Floyd's little sister, Bridget, spoke to the press after the first stage of the long-awaited trial.
While I want to limit my comments on the trial itself, I will say that my family and I are glad the wait is finally over and the day is here. I sat in the courtroom today and looked at the officer who took my brother's life. I just really wanted that officer to know how much love Floyd had. I miss my brother. I miss my brother. George, as you guys called him, would give the shirt off his back to a stranger. That's how we roll. That was him. Violence is not the answer to everything. Sometimes we need to take a step back, think before we react. And that's me, you, officers. It doesn't matter. That's not the answer that always needs to be.
Former police officer Derek Chauvin, who was released from one of the safest prisons in the United States on a $1 million bail in October last year, faces charges of manslaughter and second-degree murder. A disagreement over adding another judge delayed the start of jury selection on Monday, but is expected to resume this week. Last but not least, a 31-year-old mother in Uganda recounts how she managed to make ends meet during the coronavirus pandemic after losing her job the day the country went under lockdown in March last year.
I stopped working, gyms closed, people could not meet anymore, and literally the savings I had weren't enough to get me through a year, even through 2 months. And yet I also had a daughter to take care of. So the way it affected me in that way is it took away generally the life I knew. We couldn't afford rent anymore, we couldn't afford feeding ourselves. So we moved into my sister's place. I would do baking on the side because I had friends who'd like order for cookies, order for cupcakes, order for birthday cakes. So I would make that on the side, and whatever I would make, I would like save slowly as we keep going. Slowly from January, like that's when I started training ladies that I used to train before COVID. We hooked up again. I started training. Now I have like 3 clients with whom I train during the week, and I'm managing slowly, but I still do my baking on the side. You can't let bad situations stop you, because if I had stopped myself from ever thinking that I could bake and make some money, or I could go find a client and make some money, I wouldn't be here. I would probably have starved to death or something. I've heard of men walking away from families, from their wives, because apparently it's too hard for them. It's too difficult. And as a woman, you can't walk away from your children. You can't walk away from your home. And most of us, we have risen to the occasion. We have taken care of our mothers, our husbands, our children, our husbands' families.
Places like gyms or movie theaters reopened in Uganda in November last year after the Bodybuilding and Fitness Association appealed to the government over severe financial setbacks. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.